So I'm Susie, I'm Community Engagement Officer at the Mental Health and Wellbeing Local in East Gippsland, and today I'm introducing you to a member of our clinical team down at the local. Would you like to introduce your name and what you do for us?
Yeah, so my name's Emily. I'm an occupational therapist, or OT as you hear, and like Susie said, I'm one of the people that's in our clinical team in East Gippsland. Yeah.
So, Emily, you grew up in East Gippsland, right?
I grew up pretty far east, so all the way at Nurrenby. When that school was open, that's where I did my primary school years, just out of Cairn. And then high school was Bairnsdale. And then I, as lots of people do, went off to Melbourne for uni and studied occupational therapy in Melbourne.
And you and your family live where now?
So I don't know why we stayed for so long in Melbourne, but we did, and then we realised what we were doing, and so we've moved back in the last year or so, and so we're living down on the Gippsland Lakes and have a few chooks, kids are down there going to local school.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what's your family's involvement in local sports?
So we are not the sportiest of families, and so we are very much at the introductory level, but my older daughter has just started in a netball team.
Awesome.
And she went from having passed a netball a couple of times in PE at school to this sort of heart-melting, joyous smile playing her first game of netball in the last few weeks, to trying most of the positions, and has even had a go in centre now.
Fantastic.
So
up and coming young netballer.
it's been gorgeous to watch. She is feeling confident. She's caught the ball a few times and she could not be prouder of herself. And,
Oh, fantastic.
the extension of that is me just being overwhelmed with joy at her succeeding, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So, Emily, what does a mental health occupational therapist at the Mental Health and Wellbeing Local in East Gippsland do?
So, in a really, the nutshell version, the elevator pitch is mental health OT is when somebody has something that they need to do or they want to be doing with their time, a role or a responsibility. It doesn't have to be in a workplace, but a barrier to doing that thing is something related to their mental health. So that could be a diagnosis or it could be an experience that they're having. And so mental health OT uses lots of different approaches and lots of different strategies to work with people so that they can get a bit closer to what they want to be doing, or maybe get back into something that they were doing at another time of their life. So it's that idea of living the life that they want to live.
Awesome. Can you give a few examples of a time when you've seen OT make a really big difference for somebody?
Yeah, so even just since being at the local for the last, I think we must be almost a year that I've been there, there's been some really lovely times when people have been able to achieve those goals that I just described. So one might be that I can work with people using something called sensory modulation. So that's when we maybe change something about their senses to change the way that they're feeling. So that could be their taste, sight, smell, touch, using those sorts of things. In this case, it was somebody who was having some anxiety at work. And so we were able to do a few skills and strategies, and they were able to get back to doing their job in a way that was more easeful and productive. And sometimes we might be working on how they're using their time. So when people have depression or they've got that experience of lower mood or they're a bit out of their usual routines, we can work on setting up maybe a bit of a structure or some graded activity so they can start getting back into things. We work on setting the right kinds of goals for people so they can start getting back into things. And then at a maybe slightly different focus is some of the additional training I've done is on some specific trauma-focused therapies. So we've had some really lovely outcomes for people down here where we've been treating PTSD or other trauma responses, and people have been able to shift really long-held, really, really tricky beliefs that they've got about themselves that were limiting them. Or people have been able to maybe go places that they've been avoiding after a traumatic event, so that the world can open up for people in a way that those symptoms weren't allowing.
So what's it like working at the local?
It's really lovely. It's really, really great. We moved back down and I didn't have a job when we moved back down, so I wasn't quite sure I was going to find a setting that was the right fit for me to be able to use all the interventions and the strategies that I'd learnt and trained in working down at Melbourne at a big mental health hospital down there. But the local's been a really nice fit of this recovery-oriented practice with the peer workers that are there, and I can still work in this clinical specialty area that I've found, which is really nice. The building is lovely in Bairnsdale. We've opened that up and it's looking all nice. But I've also been able to work in people's homes and some other settings dotted all the way along Lakes Entrance or Bost when people have needed that as well. So it feels like an absolute privilege to work there.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for talking to us. Emily Bull, mental health occupational therapist at the Mental Health and Wellbeing Local in East Gippsland. Thanks, Emily. We look forward to seeing you around.
Thanks so much.